Welcome to Week 4's lesson, Strength-Based Communication. The lesson this week is to practice strength-based communication. Now, before we can practice, we have to understand what strength-based communication is. What I want you to think of is being encouraging, optimistic, hopeful, nurturing, loving. We want to move away from being judgmental, dismissive, angry. Why we do this is because we're conditioning our minds to accept that there is a different way, that we ultimately respond better to love and encouragement than we do towards coercion or punishment. This can be a hard shift for some members of the family, as it threatens previously understood power and control dynamics. Ultimately, we want to root out all of those power and control dynamics. They're just not effective ways to parent or to communicate within a family. So take that risk and take stock in yourself of how you engage in communication. So this week, I encourage you to catch when people are doing right. Last week, we learned to see behavior stoppage as an intentional decision point. This week, we're going to see all things as intentional decisions. Now, what happens when the decision is not a positive one or leads to something that should be given a consequence or be seen as a negative? Well, we want to have open and honest dialogue about that. We want to present probing questions and encouraging dialogue so that we can understand why that decision was going to be made or why it was made, and if we need to, how that can be done differently in the future. Now, if we feel judged or invalidated in our experience, we're going to tend to shut down and avoid having any future conversations. I always encourage parents at this point to use the phrase remain curious. I focus on parents, but ultimately teens need to do the same. They need to understand the rationale that their parents have created and why they're parenting in the way that they are. That it's not out of a need to punish or potentially a need to control, but ultimately because they want the best for all their family members. So remember all the things that were written down when we developed the family strengths list and start to incorporate those in your communication. This is where you'll start to see big shifts. With the removal and elimination of behaviors and the increase in strength-based communication, your family system is beginning to change and you're going to start seeing the results. My assumption is that you may have already. We'll see you next week for next week's lesson. Thank you.